Traffic stops are unpredictable. One wrong word or move can turn a normal stop into a stressful, expensive, or even dangerous situation. If you carry a firearm, the stakes are higher, but you don't have to overthink it. The truth is, there's a safe, legal way to handle it that keeps both you and the officer out of trouble. In this video, I'm going to teach you the steps most people overlook: how to transport firearms correctly, what to say, what to avoid, and how to assert your rights without breaking the law. Watch carefully, because these tips are the difference between a smooth stop and a serious legal headache.
Number 1. Don't hide or move the gun. When an officer approaches your vehicle, the single best thing you can do is make the situation predictable. That's what "keep it where it is" really means. Don't reach for, rearrange, or try to conceal a firearm. Sudden movements or attempts to move a weapon create confusion in the moment, and police officers must make split-second safety decisions. From their perspective, an unexpected hand reaching toward a dash, glove box, or under a seat could look like an attempt to grab a weapon. That's dangerous for everyone involved and can quickly escalate a routine stop into a life-changing encounter. Think of a traffic stop like a very short, high-stakes meeting where nonverbal signals matter more than words. Keep your hands visible on the wheel or in your lap, and tell the officer what you're doing before you do it. For example, "Officer, I have a firearm in the center console. May I reach for my registration?" That kind of calm, slow communication reduces uncertainty. If your jurisdiction requires you to disclose that you're armed, do so plainly and immediately. If not required, many people still choose to say it because it diffuses surprise. There are two practical currents under this rule: safety and legality. Safety because avoiding sudden movement reduces the risk of a defensive reaction. Legality because trying to hide a weapon or physically interfering with an officer can produce criminal charges or be interpreted as obstruction. Even if you believe you're legally carrying, hiding or moving a gun during a stop undermines your legal position and puts you at risk of arrest or worse. If you need to access documents, ask permission and describe each move. "May I reach into my glove box to get my license? It's on the left." If the officer asks you to step out of the vehicle or to secure the firearm, comply calmly and follow instructions. You can contest mistakes later with an attorney. After the stop, if anything felt improper, write down the details: badge number, time, location, and contact legal counsel. In short, be predictable, be communicative, and prioritize de-escalation. Your aim in those few seconds is to keep everyone safe and leave any disputes to be settled later in a courtroom, not in the street.
2. Tell the officer calmly if you're carrying. If you're legally carrying a gun, one of the smartest and safest things you can do during a traffic stop is communicate clearly and calmly with the officer. The key word here is calmly. You don't want to blurt it out, make sudden movements, or sound nervous. You want to come across as confident, respectful, and in control. When an officer walks up to your car, they already have no idea who you are, what your intentions are, or what might be in your vehicle. So the way you handle the first 30 seconds sets the tone for everything that follows. A simple, steady sentence like, "Officer, I want to let you know I'm legally carrying a firearm. It's in my waistband and my permit is in my wallet," goes a long way. You're not being confrontational, you're showing that you're responsible and transparent. In many states, you're legally required to disclose if you're carrying a gun during a stop. In others, it's optional. Either way, giving that information up front prevents surprises. Imagine the officer spots your holster halfway through the stop and didn't know you had a firearm. That discovery could trigger unnecessary tension or fear. By calmly stating it first, you control the narrative and demonstrate you're following the law. After you disclose, stop moving. Keep your hands visible, usually on the steering wheel, and wait for the officer's instructions. They might ask, "Where is it?" or "Please don't reach for it." Follow their commands exactly as they say. Never try to hand them the weapon yourself. That's a huge safety risk. Just tell them where it is and let them take the lead. The tone of your voice matters as much as your words. Speak slowly, avoid sounding defensive, and maintain steady eye contact if possible. Remember, this isn't the time to debate gun rights or quote the Constitution. It's about cooperation and safety. Once the interaction is over and you're free to go, you can take pride in how you handled it, legally, professionally, and safely. Officers often appreciate calm, direct communication because it lowers everyone's stress level.
So the takeaway is simple. Inform, don't alarm. A few calm, honest words can turn what could be a tense moment into a smooth, uneventful stop, exactly the outcome you want when you're legally carrying. Number 3. Keep your permit ID accessible. One of the simplest but most overlooked steps in safely handling a traffic stop while armed is making sure your driver's license, registration, and firearm permit are easily accessible. This small detail can drastically reduce tension during a stop and prevent misunderstandings that could quickly escalate. When an officer approaches your vehicle, their main concern is safety. They don't know who you are or what your intentions might be. Sudden or hidden movements can raise red flags, especially if they later learn there's a firearm in the car. That's why preparation before you even start the engine is key. Keep your permit and ID stored in a consistent, reachable location that does not require you to dig through bags, glove boxes, or under-seat compartments. For example, you can place them in a slim wallet or visor pouch or inside a small document holder clipped to your sun visor or center console. The goal is to retrieve them smoothly without reaching near your firearm or any area that could appear suspicious. If you're pulled over, don't reach for anything until the officer gives instructions or you've communicated clearly. Roll down your window, keep both hands visible on the steering wheel, and wait. Once the officer asks for your license or permit, calmly explain each movement before you make it. You might say, "Officer, my license and permit are in the center console. I'm going to reach for them now." This verbal cue builds trust and shows you're not making a sudden or threatening move. In some states, you're required by law to immediately inform the officer that you're carrying a firearm and present your permit. In others, disclosure is optional. Regardless, having your documents organized and accessible demonstrates responsibility and can help the interaction stay professional and quick. Also, avoid keeping your firearm and paperwork in the same compartment. If your gun is stored in your glove box or center console, don't reach there for your ID. It can create a dangerous misunderstanding. Instead, have your identification separate and ready before you drive. Ultimately, keep your permit or ID accessible isn't just about convenience, it's about controlling the tone of the encounter. A well-prepared, calm, and transparent driver signals to the officer that you respect the law and know your responsibilities. That alone can prevent unnecessary tension and make the difference between a smooth stop and a stressful one. 4. Politely refuse consent to search. During a traffic stop, an officer might ask, "Do you mind if I take a quick look in your car?" This may sound casual, but it's a legal request for consent to search your vehicle. If you agree, even politely, you've just waived one of your strongest constitutional protections, your right against unreasonable searches. That's why knowing how to refuse a search politely and correctly is crucial for anyone who values their rights and safety. First, understand that officers often ask for consent because they don't have probable cause to search without it. Probable cause means clear, factual evidence that a crime may have occurred, not just a hunch or suspicion. Without your permission or a valid reason, they legally can't search your car. But if you say, "Sure, go ahead," or even shrug, they can proceed freely, and anything they find can be used against you in court. The key is to refuse clearly but respectfully. You don't need to argue, explain, or raise your voice. A simple and calm statement works best. "Officer, I don't consent to any searches." That one sentence asserts your rights without being confrontational. You don't have to justify it, and you don't have to say anything else. Just remain polite and still. The officer may try again or ask, "Why not?" But you can repeat the same phrase. "I don't consent to any searches, sir." Being polite is important because your tone can affect how the situation unfolds. Stay calm, avoid sudden movements, and don't physically resist. Refusing consent is a verbal boundary, not a physical one. If the officer insists and searches anyway, don't interfere. Let them proceed, observe carefully, and note details such as their name, badge number, and any witnesses. Later, your attorney can challenge the legality of the search in court, but only if you didn't consent. It's also smart to know the exceptions. Officers can search without consent if they have probable cause, if you're being arrested, or if something illegal is in plain view.
In short, politely refusing consent isn't being difficult, it's being informed. You're exercising a right that protects your privacy and prevents unnecessary escalation. Calm words, steady tone, clear communication. That's how you protect yourself legally and respectfully during a traffic stop.